Hey everyone, the good, the bad and the boogie, here to talk about Pyre and give you our review of it. So first of all, what is Pyre?
Well, from the developers, it says Pyre is a party-based RPG. But is it though?
It's, in my honest opinion, it's basically a heavily story-driven game with a lot of games of frankly boring basketball.
Yeah, it would just make so much more sense as an interactive novel. This story is a lot more engaging than the actual gameplay, which isn't great for a game.
The way it typically works in a general sense is that you'll get fed a line of story. Now this will either be the general overarching storyline or it'll be some individual character's backstory / general storyline over the whole game, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, the game's generally well written. There's a few poor parts, a lot of cliched bits.
Oh, very cliche.
But overall, the characters at the very least are engaging. But the problem is, you get fed these one lines at each point, like I said, and then you've got to go through this game of basketball. And at best, it's a semi-decent mini-game. That's what it feels like. It does not feel like a proper game, these games of basketball. And that's literally the game, these games of basketball.
Yeah. It feels like, like a lock-picking mini-game. It feels like that, but if that was just your entire game, pretty much. Like, that is the only RPG element in it, the story. Mm-hmm. The character progression, story-wise, is great, but as they level up and get new skills, you don't even notice them, really. Like, they're just literally pointless. They feel like they're just tacked on there to go, ooh, this would be cool, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, it's...
I don't like the gameplay in it. The only thing that kept me slightly engaged was the story and the artwork and this world that is nice and colourful and vibrant. But if it wasn't for that, I would have literally stopped playing within my first 2 hours and tried to get a refund.
Yeah, now, don't get us wrong. Supergiant have done really well with the artwork and...
Oh, the music as well.
And the music as well. The music is great. And as we've said, the characters, we enjoy the characters. Story, while we feel is a bit cliched, is decent enough, it holds up, but it all gets ruined by the constant monotonous onslaught of the actual gameplay. It sucks all enjoyment out of it because it gets to the point where playing the actual game is a chore. You don't want to play the game anymore, you just want to hear the story, and then every 2 or 3 minutes, oh, another one of these games of basketball. Oh, another one of these games of basketball.
They're not even long or challenging games though. They're literally, you can smash them out in 2-3 minutes. The longest, but they're just boring to play and you're like, oh, why do I have to do this again just to unlock maybe another line from the crystal ball person, another line from one of your characters who you don't even get to choose to talk to. So if you want to find more information about a specific character, you have to wait for them to approach you. Or you might unlock another page in your book which you've then got to read to find the backstory, and it just goes on and on. And when you think you finally reached the end, it goes, oh no wait, there's more games of basketball. And guess what? There's even more games of basketball.
Yeah.
And you're interested in this character? Well, you're in luck. You've got to play more basketball. And the basketball is so rubbish.
It is really bad. As we said, the game repeats itself a lot. Now, we're not saying that this in itself is bad. There are a couple of examples of games which have done this same kind of thing where they repeat themselves and they've done it well. For me, the best example I can think of is Bravely Default for the 3DS. But this one, it's the fact that the core gameplay is so boring. It just doesn't work in its favour at all.
Yeah, and you can make it slightly more challenging by unlocking these stars that will give you, or the enemies a buff or you a nerf in a way. But all they serve to do is make the game of basketball drag on for longer by increasing their overall life pool sort of shenanigans. And God, you don't want to make the game last another 2 minutes longer than you have to.
That's what makes it feel even more of a chore as you get later into the game, because by the time you get near the end game, it's really dragging on to you then. You're really getting hacked off with all these games of basketball you're playing. And the games get longer because the enemy teams you're playing against, they're also getting skills leveled up as well, which means they're getting better, which means the games are inevitably going to drag on longer. One of the last games I played, I can't remember which enemy team it was, but it ended up going on forever because they had so many health points on their little Pyre thing. And it was dragging on forever, and we would just spend about 5 minutes in the middle of the patch just tackling each other by jumping up in the air. It was going on forever.
Yeah, if the game was more challenging, it might have been more fun, because then you'd get the elements of, oh, I could lose this game. But I maybe felt that once throughout the entire playthrough.
The thing is, though, the game says, or at least insinuate several times, that it doesn't really matter if you lose a game. If anything, you might want to lose a game because, as we mentioned before, the characters are well done. There are characters on opposing teams which you'll meet and speak to, and you'll even get to points where, oh man, I kind of want these guys to win. And you can. It's perfectly within your respectable in this game to let the other team win, so their characters get their thing to develop their story in the way that you want it to. At the end of the day,
it even gives you a few prompts for that as well, doesn't it? It's like, oh, we don't want these guys to win, but we do as well because we're nice people. And you're like, yeah, but I kind of want to do my story, so shut up and just let me play. And that's one of the things that annoyed me halfway through the game of basketball. Everyone will just stop for the story dialogue to go, and you're like, but it's not even the interesting story. It's now just a random story that I don't care about. It hasn't made me feel anything for these other guys, and they're just like, oh, we're losing, grrr, is the only line of dialogue halfway through this game of basketball, and you're just like, just shut up and let me carry on playing.
It's kind of like where they go, ha, this wasn't even my final form, now you'll see me at 100%.
You go all anime on us.
Exactly.
It's. I just really didn't like the basketball element. Story would have been more engaging if it wasn't so broken down and slow paced. And there were some bits where I'm just like, why is this happening? Without trying to spoil the story too much, can't really go into it. But right at the start,
yeah, we are being very general things, but you have to understand this is an incredibly story heavy game, so we're trying our best to avoid spoilers here.
Yeah, it's just right at the start. And if it was a film, I think it would have been fair to say you would have watched the first half hour of the film going, what the fuck is going on? And if it was on TV, I'd have just switched it off and left and never have gone back to that film ever again. But because I paid money to play it and see it, so if it was in the cinema, I would have sat through it and then maybe would have went, oh, I'm glad I did that. But overall, I don't think I could say this about Pyre.
See, because I generally, when I play games, I tend to engage with well-written characters quite easily. So I felt incentivized to play through the whole game just to see how the characters played out and how the storylines went. But in terms of the main sort of overarching story in general, that was at best semi-decent.
Yeah.
Like, it was nothing special.
Yeah, it just ground me down with like how tedious it got. Like, I would have been more engaged if there was less basketball in it. But because there was so much of it between each story segment, I just completely lost interest.
Yeah.
Like, I stopped reading your journal halfway through it to get the back of the story. I just got so bored, really.
Yeah.
Which is worrying.
Speaking of the backstory, though, to be fair to their credit, they've done a lot of backstory and a lot of lore, and as Phil mentioned, there's an entire book of it you get in the game that you can read through at your leisure, like, which you will unlock more pages of as you go through the game.
Which I felt interesting at first, but then when you have to tediously grind every unlocked story segment, there's only another like 3 or 4 lines of written dialogue, and I'm like, do I have to?
And also, it reveals for me one of the most annoying parts of the game, in that it gets revealed in the backstory and lore that in the history of this area that you're in, a group of people once toured it up and down like hundreds of years ago, defeating and killing massive, deadly, stupendously
the
powerful
Titans.
Yeah. And you even see like their giant corpses knocking around in the map as you tour up and down in your little caravan thing. And it just makes me think, so hang on, someone at Supergiant wrote down the idea of a party of people touring up and down a deadly land, killing amazingly powerful, huge, artistically beautiful monsters, and thought, nah, sod that. What we want is basketball.
Yeah, they have a brilliant story set up. Even if you do like a first few games of basketball, and then, oh my god, it's like the end of the world, the Titans are coming back.
Yeah.
Typical cliche bullshit. But it would have been more fun.
It would have been so much more fun.
You would have had more pressure upon you, like, oh my god, I could lose. Like, I have to fight this thing, how am I meant to do it? Like, the whole typical game that's been done many times before, and the most obvious example I can think of is like Mass Effect or Dragon Age sort of shenanigans, you know, that whole RPG genre. Where there's always an end of the world crisis, but as cliche as that would have been, it would have been better than what we got.
They had all the ingredients there, and instead they were like, oh, you know what this needs? This needs like something really. What's something everyone doesn't like?
A really boring game of basketball. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote that, because I even thought, whoa, are we going to start engaging with these titans? Because it hinted that they will bring the end of the world, yada yada yada, and then, nah, they're just backstory. They're literally the ground that you're walking on in some parts of it, and you're like, really? This is what you came up with? You're going to drag out this storyline of basketball wearing weird masks? And yeah.
Speaking of masks, though, you may notice in some of the gameplay that we put on the video, you'll see like these big horned creatures called demons in the game, and their masks don't quite line up with the horns. It's very odd.
Yeah.
In fact, it leads me to question how the hell he even got these masks on their horns. Like, do they slip in a horn at a time and like clip off these horns and slip the other one and then slip the mask on?
Yeah.
Apart from one or two inconsistencies like that, though, the artwork is very beautiful. Everything aesthetically about this game is beautiful and nice.
Oh, yeah. If you look at screenshots of it, it looks a really vibrant, colourful world. It looks beautiful. But even when you're travelling it, I found more fun just watching my cart trundle along to the next story point, which is just simply click on the next only area that you can click. You get a choice of 2 paths. You choose one or the other, and you get a certain reward or negative bonus or thing will happen, and you get a line or 2 of dialogue. But watching the cart trundle along is much more entertaining than actually playing the game, which, as a point-and-click adventure, would have been great. I really would have enjoyed that a lot more than having to sit through playing the mini-game again.
I think it's fair to say that the actual gameplay aspect of it, in this case of the basketball, did way more harm than good for this game.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much covers everything we feel about the game. If you're looking for a summary, TLDR. Aesthetically beautiful, nice story, nice characters, nice art, nice music. Terrible actual game.
There was a lot of nice then.
A lot of nice, but then where it actually mattered, the actual gameplay, it's just bad. It's just so boring and horrible.
Yeah, I'd have much rather played Bastion again.
Bastion or Transistor. If you're looking for a really good story with good gameplay, play Bastion or Transistor. Supergiant Games have done way better in previous games than they have with Pyre.
It's like the awkward third album.
Yeah.
It's just not.
It's just not worked out with this one.
No.
Sorry guys, I'm quite disappointed with this one myself. I thought Pyre was going to be another good one, a la Bastion and Transistor, but
I would recommend not buying it unless it's on a sale, and at least a 50% off sale, because anything more than that, I would feel like I'd be mugged off.
And even then, prepare for a bit of a chore to see out the whole story.
It was until the halfway point that I could play it, and then after that I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. But that's after 2 hours in, which sadly you then can't get a Steam refund.
Exactly.
So.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. We're going to be doing a video where we talk more about the story in this game and our criticisms of the story and what we liked about the story as well. So,
but that will be more spoiler heavy. So if you don't want to have any of that, then don't watch that video. But if you're not gonna play the game, or you just want to find out what the story's about, sort of thing,
or just want to hear our opinions of it. I mean, who knows? People actually want to hear what we say.
Mental.
God forbid. But so that's everything. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope to see you next time.
Yeah, see you around.